Dear friends, in this section, we will talk about the scheme of China's opening up strategy. In fact, China's opening up to the world adopts a gradual promotion strategy, which has experienced a process from water test to self-consciousness. At different stages, the CPC Central Committee had made an in-depth analysis of the opportunity and the challenges brought about by economic globalization, constantly adjusted the opening up strategy, continued to promote the expansion of opening up, develop strengths and avoid weaknesses, pursue advantages and avoid disadvantages. China's current opening up strategy includes three levels contents. They are multilateral level, regional level, and the unilateral level. First of all, from multilateral perspective, China's opening up strategy is mainly about China's attitude towards World Trade Organization. As we all know, that the multilateral trade regulator, WTO, is one of the most important international organizations, which contributed too much to the world trade liberalization and global economic development. China signed all the documents of China's accession to the WTO in Doha, the capital of Qatar, on November 11, 2001. 1 month later, China officially became a member of the WTO. After China's formal accession to the World Trade Organization, China's opening up to the world has gradually changed from policy-driven to institutionalized opening, from unilateral independent opening to mutual opening under the multilateral framework, which provides more stable development expectation and broader development space for China's foreign economy. Unfortunately, the development of WTO is not smooth. Since the end of the 20th century, WTO has encountered a series of setbacks, which include the abortion of Seattle Summit in 1999, the failure of Cancun Ministerial Meeting in 2003, Director General Pascal Lamy's announcement to suspend the negotiations of WTO in 2006, the impasse in the implementation of the Trade Facilitation Agreement, which has been signed in 2013, and the exhausted Doha round negotiation, which started from 2011, which has not come to the end even about 20 years past. What's more serious, since 2018, because of some countries retarding, WTO's appellate body, the most important mechanism of the WTO, nearly suspended, which even jeopardized the existence of the WTO. But why the WTO becomes so difficult? Somebody says maybe it's because the negotiation about agricultural agreement is too controversial. Somebody says the reason is WTO has more and more members and less the WTO difficult to make important decisions. Some argues that the WTO has too much topic included, also one important reason to explain WTO's difficulty. Some even accuses that the WTO's budget is too few, determines that the WTO cannot develop smooth. To some degree, all the reasons or explanations above are true. But from the root, there are two important reasons. First, developing countries perform more and more actively in negotiation. The second is developed countries cannot get more from WTO, and they want to give up it. As for this, what's China's attitude toward the WTO? China chooses to support WTO strongly. In fact, China tries the best to unlock the impasse and put forward the Doha development round negotiations. We can view this as China's multilateral level opening up strategy. From the regional level, China's opening up strategy includes three parts. One is FTA strategy, the second is BIA strategy, and the third is Belt and Road Initiative. Firstly, we will talk about China's FTA strategy. As we all know, since the middle of the 1990s, even the economic globalization, for example, the WTO met lots of challenges, while regional economic integration developed robust. More and more countries rushed to forge RTAs, especially FTAs. What FTA? FTA refers to international treaty concluded by two or more countries or different tariff areas in order to eliminate various trade barriers among members and carry out trade cooperation between them. Both FTA and WTO aim to promote trade liberalization by reducing or eliminating regional tariff and non-tariff trade barriers. Well, the scope and the degree are different, but why so many countries try to find regional or even bilateral trade cooperation? To some degree, is because of the sluggish performance of WTO. As of the 8th of January 2015, about 600 FTAs notification had been received by the JDD and later WTO. Of these, nearly 400 were in force. How about China? China started to negotiate with ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, to form China-ASEAN FTA in 2000. After about 10 years negotiation, on January 1st, 2010, the first FTA signed by China, thus CAFTA, came into force. Since then, China speeded up the pace to negotiate and sign more FTAs. As of March 30th, 2021, China has signed 20 FTAs, including 3 upgrading agreements. Besides this, 10 agreements are under negotiation, 8 agreements under consideration. The most influential FTA China participates is RCEP, thus Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or 10+5. 10 ASEAN countries plus China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. The RCEP has been signed on November 15th, 2020. Nowadays, Chinese government deems free trade agreements as a new platform to further open up to the world, and speeding up domestic reforms, an effective approach to integrate into global economy and strengthen economic cooperation with other economies, as well as particularly an important supplement to the multilateral trading system. That's China's FTA strategy, which is also an important part of China's opening up strategy. Secondly, we will talk about China's BIA strategy. What's BIA? BIA means Bilateral Investment Agreement. Why countries need to sign investment agreement? Because if one country's companies invest in other country, there will be lots of problems, even conflicts need to be solved. The most harmonious way to settle the conflicts or disputes is to negotiate and sign agreement. Nowadays, there are thousands of BIAs has been signed on the world. China has signed more than 100 BIAs till now. On December 30th, 2020, China's President Xi Jinping and the leaders of the European Union announced that the negotiation of China-European Union bilateral investment treaty come to the end. If this treaty comes into force, it will be one of the most influential and significant BIA, not only for China, but also for European Union, even for the whole world as well. Thirdly, we will talk about the Belt and Road Initiative, which is sponsored by China. Here, the Belt means Silk Road Economic Belt, raised by Xi Jinping on September 7th. Here, the Belt means Silk Road Economic Belt, raised by President Xi Jinping on September 7th, 2013. The road means Maritime Silk Road of the 21st century, raised by President Xi Jinping on October 3rd, 2013. The Belt and Road Initiative is just like China's Asian Silk Road. To some degree, it seems to be more than Silk Road. The Belt and Road Initiative seeks to connect Asia with Africa and Europe via land and maritime networks with the aim of improving regional integration, increasing trade, and stimulating economic growth. Originally, the BRI only limited to 65 countries around the Belt and Road, but now more and more countries show interest on this. BRI is not only one part of China's opening up strategy, but also one of China's important contributions to global economic governance. Besides the introduction about China's multilateral level and regional level opening up strategy, now we will talk about China's unilateral opening up strategy. is mainly about China's FTZ strategy. What's FTZ? FTZ is a free trade zone. It refers to a specific area within the territory of a country to implement special foreign trade policies. In the free trade zone, the products imported without tariff. Well, if the products re-export to other areas of the country, the tariff must be levied. So the main aim of FTZ is to liberalize trade. In fact, FTZ is popular in lots of countries. For example, USA has hundreds of FTZs. As for China, the first FTZ has been set in 2013. That's Shanghai Period Free Trade Zone. But China's FTZ has more meanings. The aim is not only to liberalize trade. More important, it aims to liberalize investment and even to put ahead financial liberalization. For example, as for the Shanghai Period Free Trade Zone, one of the most important policies is so-called negative list policy. What's negative list policy? It means in this FTZ, Chinese government provides one list to foreign investors. All the sectors in the list, the foreign investors are not permitted to invest. Besides this, all other sectors are open to them. Compared with positive list policy, negative list policy is obviously freer. But why China decides to cry out such kind of policy? The background is that China wants to negotiate bilateral investment agreements with the European Union and USA. And negative list policy is an important topic among the negotiations. China just doesn't know what will happen if we take the negative list policy. So lastly, we decided to have a test in Shanghai Period Free Trade Zone. After the establishment of Shanghai Period Free Trade Zone, now China has more and more FTZs. By the end of 2020, 21 Period Free Trade Zones have been approved, including Shanghai, Guangdong, Tianjin, Fujian, Liaoning, Zhejiang, Henan, Hubei, Chongqing, Sichuan, and so on. The biggest is Hainan Period Free Trade Zone, which covered the whole Hainan Island. On October the 18th, 2017. In the report on October 18th, 2017, in the report of the 19th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, President Xi Jinping pointed out China will empower the Period Free Trade Zones to have more autonomy to put ahead reforms. FTZ strategy shows that China decides to open the door toward the world unilaterally and automatically. Now, we have discussed China's opening up strategy through multilateral, regional, and unilateral perspectives. From the introduction, we can find that nowadays China becomes more and more open toward the world. We hope this will be good for China and good for the whole world as well. That's all for this section. Thanks